What's up, y'all? Bring you guys another video. Just a quick post-fight thoughts video of the Joe Smith Jr. versus Steve Geffrard fight. To those who don't know, they recently fought over at the Turning Stone Resort Casino in Verona, New York, USA. Fight was shown live on ESPN. You can actually go right now to ESPN Plus and watch the whole entire event there if you have ESPN Plus. Anyway, good fight. Steve Geffrard definitely proved to be a very good fighter. I would say. I would say that, with experience, he would have done better, but because of that lack of experience fighting world level opposition, I feel like that was his downfall in this fight. He did very well boxing early on, moving around, picking his shots, making Joe Smith Jr. work to land those big shots. But as the fight went on, Steve Geffrard slowed down. He was standing more in front of Joe Smith Jr. Joe Smith Jr. went downstairs and upstairs, mixing things up. And it got to the point where the punishment just got way too much for Steve Geffrard, where you can tell by his body language that he was starting to feel the power of Joe Smith Jr., who is considered one of the strongest fighters, most powerful fighters at 175 pounds. Actually, he's considered second, right behind Artur Beterbiev. So yeah, the power just got too much for Steve Geffrard. But props to Steve, because he actually showed up to try to win this fight. At least in my opinion, he looked like he didn't just show up for a paycheck. He definitely tried to go out there and win this fight. Showed a lot of heart and determination. So I give him props for stepping in there last minute and fighting a world champion like Joe Smith Jr. So successful defense, first title defense for Joe Smith Jr. Winning this fight by TKO knockout in round number 9. The corner actually of Steve Geffrard stepped in and stopped the fight. Even though it looked like Steve was pretty much done. I think Coach Cunningham stepped in and stopped the fight for Steve Geffrard. Anyway, Joe Smith Jr. improves to 28-3, 22 wins coming by way of knockout TKO. He was supposed to fight Callum Johnson. I think we all knew that, but still, not a bad last minute replacement. And he was able to win this fight by knockout or TKO in round number 9. It's considered a knockout by BoxRec, so I'll just say knockout. And Steve Geffrard, like I said, props to him for stepping in last minute. Third loss in his pro career. I truly believe that if only Steve Geffrard had more experience fighting world level fighters, I feel like he would have done better in this fight. But because of that lack of experience, he ended up folding and taking a lot of punishment and eventually getting stopped in round number 9. So anyway, so what's next? Steve Geffrard, back to the drawing board for him. Try to rebound from this, try to get back to winning ways, and who knows, he might eventually get in the mix against a top level fighter in the light heavyweight division. As for Joe Smith Jr., unification is always the goal for every champion, in my opinion. And if you look at the 175-pound division, there are 2 other champions, Artur Beterbiev, who holds the WBC and IBF titles, and we have Dmitry Bivol with the WBA. Artur Beterbiev would be the more exciting fight because that has knockout written all over it. Dmitry Bivol is probably the most toughest fight. Well, both fights are actually tough for Joe Smith Jr., but Bivol's style would make it more of a less entertaining fight in comparison to Artur Beterbiev. But there's also Callum Johnson still, who might actually still fight Joe Smith Jr. Because I think that's what the plan is. Because originally Anthony Yarde was supposed to fight the winner of Joe Smith Jr. versus Callum Johnson, but now Yarde is he's gonna wait around. So we'll see what happens. I mean, he might eventually fight Yarde, actually. Just straight away fight Yarde. Who knows? He might have his pro debut. First fight over in the UK against Anthony Yarde. But the fighter that he wanted, or the fighter that he obviously wants to fight, is the big names, and one of the biggest names out there is, well, actually, he is the biggest name, Saul Canelo Alvarez. And it's not like he's calling him out saying, like, let's fight or anything like that. Like, he said, like what he said, if Canelo wants to come to 175 pounds and fight me, I'm ready for it. That's the fight I want. That's only if Canelo, goes up to 175 and actually challenges a 175 pounder. I would say Joe Smith Jr. among the 175 champions, Artur Beterbiev, Bivol, and Joe Smith Jr. Joe Smith Jr. is definitely the easiest out of the three for Canelo if he wants to be world champion again at 175. But we'll see. Right now, all the talk right now is Canelo versus Jamal Charlo. So who knows? Maybe if they can't agree on things for that, he might go to Joe Smith Jr. You never know. But anyway, good win. If you saw the fight, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. If you saw the fight, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And like always, have a great day. Alright, thanks.